Namaskar, Prashant Ji. I'm so very happy that you have found time for me from your busy
It's my
schedule,
pleasure.
and absolutely delighted. And I want to talk about some things which my viewers will not be knowing about you. Even I was very surprised when I came across some things in the internet. Everyone knows, of course, your being as an activist and also a very renowned advocate. But very few people would be knowing that you also have a background in science. And of all the subjects that you have studied, it's also been philosophy of science, which I think very few people would have studied. So I think that from there your rational mindset comes.
Maybe. Rational mindset also comes from my background in philosophy,
Yeah,
also science.
science. Carrying on with that, I also read that you had taken up a case of these courses on astrology being taught in universities, and you had, I think, put in a petition against it. And then I think somehow it's not there on the internet also now. And of course, we know that now so many universities are have actually gone in and they are teaching courses on astrology and even at the postgraduate level. So, what would be your take on it, and why did you go against it, and then what happened, and what should be done now? Is it something that we should be happy about, satisfied? Nobody's saying anything, nobody's talking about it.
No, it's very unfortunate that universities are teaching what I consider to be complete scientific nonsense, which is astrology, as formal courses in the universities, etc. At that time, we had filed a petition on behalf of some of the top scientists in the country, Professor Yashpal, Dr. P.M. Bhargav, and others, who were some of the top scientists of the country, saying that this is completely unscientific. This goes against the directive principles which say that the state should do everything to inculcate a scientific temper
Yes.
among people. It goes totally against science and scientific temper, and therefore it should not be encouraged. It should not be taught.
Article 15 AH.
Not just Article 15A, I think it's also in the directive principles uh, that the government or the state has been directed to do everything to inculcate scientific temper. It's also in fundamental duties that
Absolutely,
people
absolutely. It's,
have
it's the
to,
duty of every citizen
yes, to
to
inculcate a
have a
scientific
scientific attitude. Yes.
temper. So therefore, there is absolutely no scientific basis behind astrology. It is complete hocus pocus, mumbo jumbo. But unfortunately, the Supreme Court had not entertained that petition. But after that, this whole course was withdrawn. I think
For the
around
time being, it
it
was.
was withdrawn.
Yes.
But thereafter, now again, they are. Unfortunately, it's the governments that have been sort of doing all this, and it is not surprising that the governments are interested in promoting this kind of mumbo jumbo because they are the people who have been promoting Godman, they are the people who have been promoting all kinds of other scientific nonsense also like this. Uh, there is one, the current law minister who was promoting Bhaviji Papad for driving away COVID. Minister went to inaugurate the Reliance Hospital in Mumbai, and there he said that ancient India had great science, and we had developed plastic surgery in ancient
Yes.
India
Yes.
because the trunk of Lord Ganesh
Ganesh.
is
Yes.
stitched by plastic surgery. He also said that Karn of Mahabharata was the product of in vitro fertilization.
Right.
He was a test tube baby
Test
and
tube.
so on.
Yes.
So, unfortunately, all kinds of scientific nonsense is propagated because they don't want the people to have a scientific temper or critical thinking. In fact, they are doing everything possible to destroy the ability of people to think critically. And that is why these kind of things are being promoted along with Godman, etc.
But do you really think that it is only the government that is responsible? Because if there are so many takers for such things, that means the general public likes this.
Yes,
And
yes.
there are takers for it. And for that, somebody has to take on, some initiative so that people are also educated in the proper way and they are not led into this kind of a thing which leads nowhere actually.
Yes, yes. Unfortunately, you see, from times immemorial, uh, actually, religion is one of the major causes of irrational thinking and the lack of
Absolutely. Yes.
scientific temper. And unfortunately, the search of humans for some kind of security leads them to believe in salvation,
True,
in
true.
God, in uh, uh, somehow that taking a dip in the Ganges will wash away their sins, or praying at a temple will
Yes.
wash away their sins and will lead to salvation, etc. And therefore, it arises out of that.
Out of that.
But it is the duty of especially of governments to promote scientific temper and to decry all kinds of mumbo jumbo and scientific nonsense. Uh, and it's also the duty of other citizens to do that, and therefore there were people like the Volker and uh,
Yes.
various people who,
Kalburgi.
Kalburgi,
Yes.
etc., the rationalists
Rationalists.
of Maharashtra,
Maharashtra.
Karnataka, etc., who who led a campaign against unscientific thinking
Yes.
and the belief and superstitions, etc.
And they had
Unfortunately,
to pay with their lives. Yes.
many of them were also killed.
Killed. Yes. So, where does the solution lie? Because see, in these states that you're mentioning, Maharashtra and some other states, they already have laws against superstition and black magic, and that practices should be, are illegal, and yet it is going on. Um Hardly it has ended, and there are so many, practices like this, like witchcraft, which is practiced in many states. It's rampant in many states of Assam, Bengal, and Chhattisgarh, then Maharashtra, all these areas, and many more places. So nothing is actually actively being done by anybody. And I think the scientists that initially had taken this up, whom you were representing in court, there are no other scientists like that now. Everybody is being quiet and everybody is keeping quiet. There are no voices raised. There is no demand from the public for something to be done for rational thought. So is
Now,
it
it's
not? Is it not
sometimes,
like that chicken and egg thing, that who is it, the public or is it the government or is it both?
it's a
Who
vicious
vicious
circle.
circle? Yes.
So the government promotes superstition and godman and scientific nonsense in order to kill the rational capacity or the capacity for critical thinking of
Thinking.
people,
Yes.
so that the people are unable to properly interrogate and question the government about why the
Absolutely.
government is doing certain things. For example, today, in order to promote religious tourism, all kinds of Char Dham highways are being built, tunnels are being cut through fragile mountains, which have been
Yes.
leading. We have been seeing that these have led to huge floods,
Absolutely.
this tunnel collapse, etc., etc. But the government doesn't want people to question any of this. And in order for the people not to question this, their capacity for rational thought or critical thinking has to be killed. And that is why the government is interested in promoting this. So, on the one hand, the government promotes it instead of trying to stop these kinds of unscientific thinking and unscientific practices and superstition, etc. And uh, once you have got people involved with godmen and superstition, etc., then it helps the government politically also to feed that same frenzy in order to appear popular. So all this religious tourism is also being promoted
Absolutely.
in order to gain some popular vote, etc. Because the government also feels that now people want all this, people want the Ayodhya temple, people want to be able to go to the Char Dham Yatra and so on.
So it's the media also that is responsible there. Media, I see every newspaper, every leading newspaper has every day, daily column of astrology and in weekly and all that. And then even the main media channels about this tunnel collapse, they were also saying that it is the god who is being angered, and everyone was praying to that god, and the foreign expert who has come, who was leading the excavation, even he was praying there, so as if it is the prayers that have been finally answered.
Media is also playing the same game sometimes out of uh, an effort to gain some popularity and get more people
More
to
readers,
more
more
readers,
viewers,
etc.
if it is.
Sometimes also on the pressure of the government, because a lot of media today has been compromised and brought under control by the government, and therefore they are happy to do whatever the government wants.
So, what is the hope? What is the way forward? Who is going to take up these cudgels, and who is going to? How can the public, be brought back from where we are going? Because now, even scientists don't speak, doctors don't speak about mumbo jumbo treatments. They are not saying anything, so it is going on, and then you're taking all these. Even godmen are giving treatments. They are also telling you that if you have this kind of ailment, you go and tell them the ailment, they'll give you a cure.
Yeah, yeah. Godmen are, of course, one of the main culprits in promoting superstition and unscientific nonsense. And they do it also to promote their own cult and get people to believe in their supernatural powers. I am reminded of that interview that I read of uh, PC Sarkar Jr. long time back in Sunday magazine, where he's asked, "What do you think of Sai Baba?"
Yes.
That Satya Sai Baba.
Yes, yes.
And he said that, oh, he's just a cheap magician who pretends to be a godman. So he was asked, how do you know that? So he said, I had a very interesting meeting with him. I went to his ashram and claimed to be his disciple and wanted a darshan. So he entertained me, and I came to his throne. He was sitting on his throne, and I touched his feet, whereupon he waved his hands in the air and pulled out a sandesh, which I saw was a simple act of palming, what we magicians call palming.
Yes.
So he says, I also waved my hands in the air and produced a rasgulla for him. He asked his people to throw me out. So I told him that I would be happy to, I am P.C. Sarkar Jr., and I would be happy to meet him in public on the stage. But he never accepted my challenge. So therefore, this has been going on for a very long time. It's just become worse now.
All these new crop of babas are coming up. Young boys, young men, they are becoming. They are, look at the following that they have.
Horrible. And unfortunately, as you rightly said, the media is also promoting it. Just yesterday, I was seeing that even a newspaper like the Indian Express was interviewing this fraud called Sadhguru. He was on that Express Adda yesterday, because the Indian Express is otherwise a respectable newspaper. But even they are promoting these people who are complete frauds.
Very sad, very sad. Then, is there no hope for our country?
It's very difficult, long and difficult battle against this. It's we have traveled a long way, just as this virus of communalism has gone very deep in this country. This virus of superstition, unscientific temper, and mumbo jumbo has also gone very deep into our society.
But education is also not having any effect. You see, the very well educated people are also going into for all this. They also believe this. Big, huge hospitals provide little temples, doctors keep statues or have small little shrines in their clinic or outside the clinic somewhere, and every time they say, oh, you must believe in God. God can play the miracle. So, the faith or the belief in science is less, on medical treatment is less, and more on blind belief.
Yes, unfortunately, that's unfortunately true. And as I said, it's going to be a difficult and uphill battle to reclaim scientific temper.
Even people with the highest degrees believe in miracles. They believe that during eclipses you should not do this and you should not do that, even though they know they have
No, no, this astrology was brought when Mr. Murli Manohar Joshi,
yes, during his.
he was the minister.
But he was also earlier he was a professor of physics in Allahabad University.
Yes, yes. So therefore, uh, yes, I mean,
So actually, science is not fulfilling its objective. The science courses that we are teaching in our schools and colleges are not fulfilling their objectives. If the faculty is
no,
going to believe in this kind of thing, and not only just believe, it's not a kind of that it's your own private faith. You're also propagating it, which is more dangerous.
yeah, that is true. So ultimately, it's a question of weakening of the human intellect, weakening of the human spirit that is leading to this. And it is in this weakened state that people become more prone to or tempted by religious superstition because they feel that somehow they will attain salvation by doing all this. Uh, but of course, that's not true, but it's very unfortunate that we are down that road.
I hope that this conversation that I had with you, this will at least convince some people, maybe, or at least even if they are not convinced, they will at least think about these
Yes,
things
let's
and
hope
maybe
so.
read more. There have been in the West, there have been so many prominent uh, activists who have taken up cudgels and they have been effective. There are so many countries which have actually gone atheist.
Yes, yes, yes.
So, but the what we say is the mahal, the atmosphere in our country is such that if
Currently,
people,
certainly.
if somebody takes this up, say like Richard Dawkins or Carl Sagan, if we have people like this, the first thing is they are going to be killed. They are going to be shot.
Are like these rationalists
They
of
have already, we have
Maharashtra,
already seen, yes,
Kalburgi or
we have,
Pansare or
yes. Dabolkar.
Dabolkar.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.